Hi, I'm Patty Dreier, Portage County Executive. Welcome to Portage County Matters. Do I have a special show for you this December here? We've got a guest that I promised that I would try to get here into Portage County, Mrs. Claus, as in Santa Claus's spouse, right? And then also Amy Marcott, who joins us today, who comes from the Health and Human Services Department in county government. And we're going to talk about mental health and keeping our spirits high during this season of the year. Before that, as usual, I want to get to some news notes. The Portage County's budget season is over. We have now completed the budget. The Portage County Board of Supervisors overrode my veto and they then added the $40,000 from reserves for the Healthy Beginnings program. The Healthy Beginnings program is a prevention program, and this particular program has $100,000 in our operating budget on an annual basis for it as it stands now. Last year we had tapped reserves for the program, that is the 2014 budget year, and now looking ahead to 2015, the reason that I vetoed this request was because it was a second time to use reserves for a program, and we have a policy against using reserves for recurring expenses. Nevertheless, the county board overrode that veto and we go on. So we're looking forward to carrying out the mission of that program in the coming year and then having some longer term answers about sustainable funding sources, hopefully sharing that across the community rather than all coming from taxpayers in the county for the program. And I should say that the program also leverages federal matching funds for the program, and so again, those are tax dollars at another level of government. So we want to diversify the funding, and that will help us sustain the program for the long haul. The Healthcare Center, I wanted to make an announcement that's really an exciting one. I have talked with you on nearly every show I can recall about the Portage County Healthcare Center and how we've been strategic planning for our future. Well, last night, as of November 19th, the night before the taping of this December show, the Portage County Healthcare Center's Oversight Committee made took an action on my recommendation to move ahead with some planning related to our partnership with the Sisters of St. Joseph's of the Third Order of St. Francis and the 40 acres on Maria Drive that we have by the convent there. And they're interested in looking at how their future will lay out and how they can remission and dedicate their land to a mission that will live long beyond any one of them as individuals. And at the same time, the Portage County Healthcare Center is looking for longer-term answers for providing long-term care, skilled nursing care, dementia care, rehab care in our community. We have 100 licensed beds, and so, you know, we know that there's a great opportunity to look at how to grow these two causes together, quite possibly. So what we're going to do is go forward with a planning roundtable where we're going to spend a half a day or a full day, we've got to arrange this yet, to do some extra planning and clarify the vision about our potential partnership with the sisters. And then from there, we'll widen the circle and we'll develop a request for proposals to invite other partners to join us around the table, ultimately creating some kind of a nonprofit organization that will, again, if everything turns out feasibility-wise, that will be able to help us when it comes to long-term and skilled nursing care and perhaps some other things into the next decades. And I'm thinking 50 years. I'm thinking let's just lay this out and make sure that we're taking care of our seniors, including our elderly nun population on Maria Drive for the next 5 decades. So stand by, it's very exciting. You'll hear more information as we go along. And then the last bit of news I wanted to offer was to report on the Portage County Public Library downtown, the Stevens Point location. This is the headquarters of our library system throughout Portage County. I was just at the Rosholt Library this morning working on some concepts related to the future developments there with the Village of Rosholt trustees. But so it is here in Stevens Point. We just completed the negotiations and the contract work related to the City of Stevens Point and Portage County County's partnership. The library will stay downtown for 10 years, and Portage County will invest about $600,000 over the next 3 to 5 years in capital improvements that are much needed for that physical facility. And that will be in lieu of rent at the facility. That's pretty much how it turns out in the negotiations process. So we're moving on. At last, we know where the library will be as the central hub library of the county system, and we know it'll be there for 10 years, right there on Main Street. So hopefully you'll get over there and enjoy that facility, use it for job searches, use it for meeting space, use it for tapping resources for your families if you've got young children, and programs in the summer, and adult learning programs as well. All right, thanks everybody for staying with me during the news. Now, drum roll, if I had a drum roll, I would want to do it right now, because I want to welcome Mrs. Claus from North Pole.
Thanks for having me here, dear.
You're very welcome. I can't wait to find out more about you and about the topic today, mental health, and how you keep those spirits up of the elves up in the North Pole during this stressful time of year. And then also Amy Marcott. Amy is the division coordinator. Amy, you're the division coordinator for the community programs division of Health and Human Services.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah, right here. So you're our local connection, and we're going to talk about mental health, as well as our global connection, Mrs. Claus. And I couldn't think of anybody better than Mrs. Claus to invite to talk about mental health. You know, I just couldn't imagine it. So I know that you've got a lot on your shoulders every year, and particularly at this time of year, don't you?
Well, we are very busy at the pole. I'm making cookies and making sure the elves are busy, and you know, the hubby's off doing his thing, checking that list, making sure who's naughty and who's nice, and we're just busy, busy, busy.
And I can't even imagine being that busy, even as county executive, right? But anyway, you know, at this time of year, when we have darker days in this hemisphere, I know I used to live in North Pole, Alaska. I was 4 miles from Santa Claus House, and this is a real thing. North Pole, Alaska is where I lived. And at the shortest day of the year, December 21st, the winter solstice, we had 3 hours and 43 minutes of daylight. It's got to be a little tough in the dark time of year up there. Yes? You sleep a little more? You spirits? I don't know. What's it like?
It is hard, but we have, you know, all those lovely Christmas lights that we have that are all around. You know, we like to play in all kinds of sorts of reindeer games and different things to keep our spirits alive and keep us all joyful, and we do what we can. We usually bake more cookies, unfortunately, around that time, but we do what we can.
And Amy, I remember reading a Surgeon General report, I think it's 2003, in my former life as a grant writer, and it talked about linking mental health and physical health together, finally. We always knew that there was a relationship between our mental health and our physical health, but will you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, if you look at what we would call the biopsychosocial model of treating individuals, that means everything about that individual has an impact on all types of health, mental health, physical health, spiritual health, etc. And typically when someone is struggling with their mental health, they can have physical symptoms such as body aches and pains. You can see more sleepiness, or sometimes they don't sleep enough. You can have, for instance, like with anxiety, you can have a lot of physical symptoms. And there's definitely a link between those two healths, so to speak. And it's really important to make sure that you're taking care of your entire self instead of just one part of your health.
And that's exactly what it sounds like you're doing at North Pole anyway.
Right. We're trying to get out. We're trying to be busy, do different things. We could cut back a little on the cookies and maybe eat a little bit more carrots with the reindeer, but we're trying.
And when it's, so during this time of year, again, where the days are shorter in this hemisphere, I remember being a lot more sleepy in Alaska. Can you talk a little bit, either of you, about, I think it's called SAD, Seasonal Affective Disorder, which has to do with our relationship with daylight, right?
Exactly. Actually, seasonal affective disorder is something that's very common, especially in places where our winters are longer, our daylight is less. And basically what happens is that you start having symptoms of depression basically when those seasons change, specifically through the months where you have less light, mostly winter, sometimes a little bit later into fall. And then typically, and there's things that you can do to prevent that, but which we'll get into shortly.
Yes.
But basically, people can start feeling their mood is low. They may sleep more. They may get more lethargic. They may isolate a little bit more. They may have feelings of hopelessness and some symptoms along those lines where basically they're getting depressed because of the seasonal change.
And so how do people cope? And what do you recommend?
Sure.
Cookies?
Cookies are lovely and they bring lots of comfort. However, cookies sometimes can be all right, however, in moderation. You know, those carrots with the reindeers are probably a good idea from time to time because what you put in is what you're going to use for your energy, and the better food that you put in, the better energy you're going to have. So,
Yeah.
So the reindeers might be onto something, Mrs. Claus. So, but definitely, the cookies are nice, but we should only have them in moderation. The other thing is I noticed Mrs. Claus talked about all these wonderful Christmas lights. There's special lights actually that you can purchase that act like sunlight.
We had some of those in our kitchen, actually, in our house in Alaska.
Yeah, and they're super effective. If you use them several times a day, it can act like sunlight and produce vitamin D, and that can help alleviate some of your symptoms. However, if symptoms get pretty intense, you definitely need to talk to your doctor about possible medications, possibly therapy, talking to a trusted elf, something like that.
And is that playing out the way you would normally, that you've seen folks cope with less light at this time of year?
That's usually the way we see it happen at the pole. We have, I know a lot of our elves and different things like that. They develop their own little elf support groups and different things like that because it's very important. Like Miss Marcott here was talking about, that you really have support and other people around you, and that you're able to talk to others and stuff, especially when it starts to get very severe and different things like that, and really watching what you eat, and I think the lights can help at various times and stuff too, but really trying to maintain your energy level and different things. And I know what we see at the pole too is, you know, we're so busy around the holidays, and then we have that decline after the holidays, and then everybody just kind of goes into kind of a after holiday slump. And then how do you get out of that? Because then what's next? So, you know, you just have to then try to figure out, okay, now what are you going to do at the beginning of the new year, and try to get people back into some type of regular schedule and such. You know, you got to get those elves just back out there and doing things again.
Oh, that sounds like good advice, actually. And that's maybe why we say that we're going to have some New Year's resolutions, so we get ourselves committed to getting out there. They often relate to exercise and other activity and goals in our own lives. So let's talk about, let's say I'm here in Portage County, as we are, and let's say that I want to bridge to other people. I want to be part of groups of people to help me work through these kinds of things, support groups and so on and so forth. What do we have available in our own community along those lines?
Oh, sure. You know, I think that we're very lucky in Portage County that we're a very resource-rich county, and there's lots of different things that people can access to help themselves. At St. Michael's Hospital or the Ministry Healthcare System, there's lots of support groups that happen for depression management, all sorts of things. There's also depression screenings that happen on a regular basis over at that same facility. If you have a question as far as trying to find a provider, like a counselor or something like that, you can always call United Way 211. You just pick up the phone and dial 211 and ask for the list of therapists in the area.
That's a great suggestion.
And
It's like calling Santa.
A little bit, a little bit, you're right. If only Santa would answer that 211 phone, that would be kind of fun.
Oh, he's just too busy.
Yes, he does have lots of gifts though, so that might be fun. So, and there's other resources such as your doctor. Keep in regular touch with your doctor, because they can monitor not only your mental health but your physical health. And also, if medication is necessary, they can help you with that and provide some options in that realm as well. For individuals that may have mental illness already diagnosed, there's this wonderful place called Rock Point.
I was going to suggest that we talk about Rock Point. I
Yeah.
love
Rock Point is an awesome facility. It's a facility run by peer specialists or individuals that have engaged in their own recovery journey, and they're in a good place with their recovery, and they help teach others how to deal with their own recovery from their issues. And it's a great place for support. They have support groups.
Right there on Jefferson Street.
Yep, exactly. I think it's 2040 Jefferson. It's a county-owned building that has been graciously donated by the county to help run this facility. And it's outstanding. Support groups, we have lunch every day.
You bake cookies. I saw it on the schedule.
Definitely
Oops, I shouldn't have
cookies.
said that, Mrs. Claus, all over again, should I? Yes.
But we do have salad to complement the cookies as well.
Yeah,
So.
it's right on the bus line, I recall.
Yep.
So there's a great opportunity for those who may not drive to get over to Rock Point. Do they need to call your office first, or how do we go about that?
It's actually, it's a drop-in center. So what you can do is, if you're interested, you just need to stop by 2040 Jefferson Street.
2040 Jefferson Street.
Yep.
Okay.
And the individual working that day, the peer specialist, will give you a tour, go through the rules and what we can do here and what's offered on that day, give you a schedule of events and activities, and get you involved. Because as Mrs. Claus said, staying active during this time is so important. And sometimes we need to get creative. So, and that's a great place to do that.
One of the neat things that I know about in Portage County, because of the coalition work that we have so strong in our community, it has to do with suicide prevention and mental health awareness. And I wonder if you might talk a little bit about that, Amy, and maybe you have some coalitions at North Pole you might be able to share. But how about we start with Amy and we'll see
Sure.
what Mrs. Claus has to say.
We actually modeled one of the really important committee that we have is the Suicide and Mental Health Awareness Prevention Committee of Portage County. And that committee does lots of good work and gives people lots of opportunities to stay engaged and involved. One of the things that we do is we meet on a monthly basis to talk about community issues and what's happening. And we try to get people involved in a number of ways. For instance, we have during National Mental Health Month, we try and have the suicide prevention and Walk for Hope.
So that's September.
September.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Every September we do that, and it's number one, it's a great way to stay active, and number two, it's a great way to get awareness for suicide prevention and to get our mission out to the community and how important it is.
I participated in that this September. Wow, that was really something, and I really did learn a lot. Just like you said, there were great opportunities for each of us to build our understanding
And
about
it's a
these
neat
issues.
activity because people can have, they do it for their individual reasons, and sometimes people just do it to get information and stay active and remember those that maybe they have lost. But at the same time, such wonderful information and connections are available at that event.
How about coalitions at the North Pole?
We do have some coalitions at the North Pole. We try to focus on some of the same things, with just trying to keep everyone well, trying to keep things, you know, in our own little community, trying to focus on, like I said, making sure everyone is well, everybody is doing okay. Just trying to tap into, you know, maintaining everybody's balance, make sure everybody is doing okay. Like I said, because you get people who are very busy, and then they get where they're not so busy and kind of that downtime, and making sure everybody has kind of something to do, and that people are being, you know, checked on, and that people do know where they can go for help and things like that. So it sounds very similar to kind of this awesome coalition that Mrs. Marcott is talking about here.
Yeah, and I know that there are great leaders of that coalition in our community, and I think it's the leadership that really is amazing in this mix to help guide us all forward. Stay on the leading edge, if you would.
Thank you. It's a powerful coalition that has many professionals throughout the committee, as well as consumers and important people that can really give us a voice and help us with our message.
Now, in Portage County, let's talk just a little bit more about the resources that we have available for mental health. All right, so at Health and Human Services, we have a psychiatrist, Dr. Leahy, and I've had the great opportunity to shadow her with the permission of patients, to see her in action, hear her in action, and to talk with patients who are regularly seeing her and be so amazed at their responses and how they feel about her. It's pretty incredible.
Dr. Leahy is a wonderful resource, and at Health and Human Services we have other resources, such as we have therapists. We also have several social work teams. One of our teams is called our CSP team, which is the Community Support Program, and they serve individuals that have serious and persistent mental illness, and they provide case management services to really help support that person, promote independence, promote recovery, and really try and help that person help themselves. We also have our mobile crisis team.
I was going to say, let's talk about that. That's great.
Yeah. The mobile crisis team is something that we've had in existence now for about 6 years, and it's been an amazing resource. The mobile crisis team is comprised of that CSP team, as well as my Adult Protective Services unit at Health and Human Services. And they are a group of social workers that are on call on a rotating basis, and if someone is experiencing acute mental health crisis.
So maybe the 211 was called.
Yep. And
or
the
something like that?
And the 211 will actually connect them to our crisis line.
There you go.
And the crisis line will actually dispatch our mobile crisis team. And that person will assist law enforcement, assist ER doctors or ER staff, or even respond to the scene of where that person's at to try and help assess what's happening. How can we best help this person? Can we help them by perhaps taking them to the hospital? Maybe they need a short-term stay. Perhaps we need what we would call a diversion. Instead of going to the hospital, perhaps we can find a trusted family or friend that could stay with them to keep them safe. And then if they still need some monitoring and need a little extra support, we have a crisis bed available that we can place an individual in if they need extra help. And we get involved when things have gotten pretty intense and that person is truly in acute crisis, and we just want to keep them safe, and we want to try and get them the help that they need.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And when we, boy, you were triggering, oh, I know. One of the other services I had a chance to shadow was at Health and Human Services, where if we have a person who has a serious mental illness and can't dispense their own medications, then they can come, again, coordinated through our programs at the Health and Human Services, they can come and have assistance getting the medicines that they need on the regular basis that they need them.
Yep.
It was just a great thing to be part of as well, just to see and to hear about the importance of that program, see it in action, really.
Right, and that actually is part of our CSP program. And when an individual is seeing their doctor, and their doctor thinks that this person needs some help managing their medications appropriately.
Managing their meds, yep.
Yep, what we do is we typically assign them to a social worker to work on that issue, and a nurse actually runs our medication room.
Wow.
And Dr. Leahy actually oversees that. And we need doctor's orders by the prescribing physician to make sure that they're getting the appropriate medications and they take them appropriately. And we provide lots of support so people are taking their meds right.
And these are some of the services I'm pretty sure that most people have no idea about, but it's so important that we help people have the kind of balance in their lives that they need to be as engaged in our community as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's good for all of us. How about you up at the pole, as you've come to call it, I guess? Never really called it exactly that before. So what about, you've got a hospital in your area, you've got other resources in your community as well. So you get outside of the Christmas town kind of area, and there are other support services there as well?
There are. We try to see what is available. We do have, like I said, the elves have kind of set up their own support groups, but we do have different things in the community that we are able to access if we need them. And we try to stay on top of that. We usually have lists and available things around the pole as far as resources and stuff that are available, so that everybody has that information, so that nothing is without information if somebody needs some type of resource or something like that. We definitely don't want somebody to have some type of problem and they don't know where to go or where to access help.
So you check that list twice then?
I guess I would be in charge of that list, then yes.
I've heard that's a big thing at the poll.
Yes.
So what else would you like people to know about mental health, especially during this time of year? We've got about 5 minutes left in the show, and I just wonder, Mrs. Claus, what else would you like to share with our viewers?
I think the biggest thing is just to remember to, kind of like what Mrs. Marcott was saying, is you need to stay healthy. And it's not so much as just mental health as it is the combination of mental and physical health. And you know, that's something that you would think that up at the pole it's so cold and things like that we don't do anything, but we try to focus on physical health as much as we can with mental health, because it is so very, very, very important, and we do what we can. And you have to keep going and going. I mean, I'm over 200 years old, and I keep going.
Gotta hand it to you. I'm not sure I want to get that old. What else would you like folks to know?
I think that, especially during the holiday season, reach out. There's lots of places that you can reach out. You know, find a support group in the area by calling United Way 211. Call the crisis line. The crisis line is a support line, and actually that number is 866-317-9362.
And we'll get it across the bottom of the screen with the help of the TV crew.
Great, thank you, TV crew. And even during the holidays, there's always a place that you can go, be it a free meal, someone on the phone, whatever the case may be. But try to get out and see who you can, and if not, at least get active, so you can keep those good endorphins moving.
Just
No one should ever be alone at Christmas.
That's right. That's right. I know about a lot of folks that have reached out to university students and others in our community. Just the Salvation Army kettle campaign that we kicked off this last week was exciting, and then we did a 6-mile walk in the cold Saturday weather.
Wow.
And it was part of our physical activity to not let the cold weather keep you indoors. I think is a part of it as well for those that can get out and even just do a quick walk around the block. That's a great thing. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to start closing the show, and I know that these are just burning a hole in my my side here as I see these lovely cookies that you brought. Thank you, Mrs. Claus, for bringing them. We'll make sure that we share them after. But what's up with the fruit? I never saw a plate exactly like this from Mrs. Claus.
The reindeer must have snuck those in.
Yeah, and I think it's
Well,
about.
it's one of those things like we talked about. The reindeer, like we said, are like to work on the being healthy thing, and we should do more of that. So it is very important that you have that balance. Cookies as well as healthy things.
Well, I know I'm going to have a piece of orange and apple after this, but probably a cookie too. So thank you so much for that. I just brought along a couple things to say thank you. First of all, Mrs. Claus, for coming to Portage County. I thought you'd like an ornament of your husband to hang on your tree. You probably didn't have one of those. So
No,
I just want to
don't.
say thank you so much.
Thank you so very much.
And then Amy, for everything you do, when I think about a wreath, I think about encircling the people of our community with a whole sense of hope. And that's what you do on a daily basis at Portage County Health and Human Services. And you are one of my heroes, just knowing that you do that every day here in our community. And I wanted to thank you with an ornament.
Thank you for your support. We appreciate it a lot as well. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I want to also, there's somebody I wanted to thank, and it's Michelle Nelson and Ministry Healthcare. I wanted to thank them for helping to advise on this show today and being present with us to make sure that we had all of our facts right. So thanks to Ministry and to Michelle for their help on this. And then finally, I just want to let everybody know as we wrap up this show, please give 211 a call if you've got a question or concern about your own mental health or other resources, or if you've got a loved one that you're concerned about, so that we can get them connected with some help. And don't forget to talk to your doctors out there. Thank you so very much for being my guest today. Next month, we're going to have Kate Kipp join us. Kate is our Justice Programs Director in Portage County. We're going to talk about treatment courts. We're going to talk about drug courts and other opportunities for us in restorative justice here in Portage County. I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks again, Amy and Mrs. Claus.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.